never waste a good crisis. And when it comes to the economic crisis, don't waste it when it can have a very positive impact.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
The way we're going to win over the long term is not just militarily. We've got to win over hearts and minds. And what that means is we've got to invest in countries that have no educational infrastructure, have no means for young people to get ahead. We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
Stay tuned for politics and religion.
There's a trial going on in the Netherlands today that is of immense importance to you and me as Americans. The trial of the Dutch parliamentarian Mr. Geert Wilders for hate speech is of immense importance. Now, anytime you can be placed on trial for something you say, that is a direct assault on freedom of speech. We're not talking about in China. We're not talking about in Iran. We're talking about in the Netherlands, part of Western Europe, which supposedly is near to our system of government. Wilders, nicknamed Mozart because of his blonde hair, is somewhat of a maverick. Voted Politician of the Year in 2007 by the Dutch media. He is a charismatic and popular politician who displays refreshing contempt for the hypocritical political correctness relating to Islam that has enveloped Europe. Some polls suggest that in an election now, his Freedom Party could become Holland's largest parliamentary party. This apparently is somewhat of a political trial because they fear Mr. Wilders that he will soon be the leader of the Netherlands. So that's one of the reasons that this is coming down right now. Wilders refers to Islam as the Trojan horse in Europe and predicts that if we do not stop Islamification now, Eurabia will be just a matter of time. 1 century ago, there were approximately 50 Muslims in the Netherlands. Today, there are about 1 million. Where will it end? We are heading for the end of European civilization, Wilders says. As a youngster, Wilders lived in Israel for 2 years, which he described as the West's first line of defense, and has visited the Jewish state more than 40 times. He says that we in the West are all Israel. The war against Israel is not a war against Israel. It is a war against the West. It is jihad. 2 years ago, Wilders produced an explosive film entitled Fitna, which graphically depicted the violence and denial of human rights prevailing in many Muslim countries. It highlighted practices such as stoning of adulterous women, beheadings, execution of apostates, honor killings, hanging of homosexuals, forced child marriages, female circumcision, and other odious practices prevailing to this day in many Islamic societies. All that was in this film called Fitna that Mr. Wilders put together. And I'm sure that's one of the very reasons why they are pressing these charges against him for hate speech. He went on to say, but offensive expressions can be selectively extracted from sacred writings of all the major religions, including Christianity and Judaism. Now, I'm trying to think of one passage in the New Testament that could be stated that someone there is promoting the killing of another human being in the name of religion. I couldn't think of one. If there is one, it's temporarily passed me by. Continuing on, the story says the organization of the Islamic Conference, OIC, is conscious of the growing anger and resentment of Islamic extremism in Western countries. To counter this, It has been employing its clout within the United Nations and other international organizations to create a climate in which any criticism of Islam, Islamic practices, or behavior would be deemed a criminal offense and subject to prosecution. Since 2005, non-binding resolutions to this effect have been overwhelmingly endorsed by the United Nations General Assembly. Are you listening? We're talking about a resolution outlawing speaking against Islam has been passed for the last 5 years in the UN General Assembly. More recently, President Obama supported passing legislation. It was actually sponsored. We sponsored a UN resolution approved by the discredited Human Rights Council, which called on states to criminalize negative stereotyping of religions and racial groups.